Well, the Juicy Tour. Guess where we're at now? Still in California. Amazing, beautiful California with Nadia.
Here we are in San Gabriel.
This is beautiful. This is like we're in Nadia's paradise garden.
Yes.
This is amazing. And the birds are singing, and this is so special. And we had some homemade cooking last night that was absolutely delicious. And this banana bread is the best banana bread ever. This is so juicy. This is
actually
the secret ingredient. I'm going to have another piece because this is so good. You really want to come all the way here to
butter and bananas. I mean, no, I'm kidding. Can you go wrong?
This is awesome.
A little bit of sugar, a little bit of flour, butter and bananas. You like it?
Yes. Because this is juicy, you know. The food is also very important.
I figured you needed to fuel the rest of your tour, so I figured I'd fill you up here and you're on your way to Vegas.
We're on our way to Vegas to see Michael Lozier. But today I really want to go back to your story because you have this amazing thing that happened to you. Didn't you? 10 years ago? Or was it 15
It happened
years
actually
ago?
10 years ago, and it still happens.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing.
Tell us about that cool thing.
It's just morphed into different ways. You know, once you know one thing, we're all here to be challenged, so you keep getting challenged. And you keep learning new ways of loving and new ways of being truthful to yourself. And less ways of trying to prove that to anybody. Because once you know something, you know it. You can't change the truth, and it rests you. So what it means outside of you isn't as important because you know the truth will do the work. You no longer are doing the work. The love does the work. It's not like you have to prove to love. When you feel it that deeply and understand what it means to you to have it, it does the work. It propels. It's nothing you have to say. You talk less about it and more about what you're doing because you're not stuck in it anymore. It's not something that stops you and you try to figure out, why did this happen? Why did that happen? None of that matters because you realize that it happened for a reason. And instead of saying why, say, what should I have learned here? And if you get what you learned, then you just go on. And if you didn't, there'll be another way that it comes to you so that you will learn it, because part of why you were here was to learn that. And that's why it came to you and not to your neighbor. And that's why their experiences are different. And that self-accountability, just saying, you know, what role do I have in my own life? Like, how did I affect this situation? How did I bring this to me? Then you don't look at, should I blame somebody else for it or whatever happened. You realize it's just a set of circumstances that came to you to teach you. And if it wasn't that, it would be something else because we're here to learn. And we forget that sometimes.
But tell us about that story because 10 years ago, this is amazing. Because you didn't always have this understanding, this very deep knowledge and information, as you call it, the origin of truth, as your the title of your book. So how did this all started? And what happened then? Christ appeared.
Christ appeared to me in a restaurant with a client of mine who took me out for dinner. And I know we did other videos about that, but really the story gets bigger and bigger in my mind as time goes on because the value of it gets deeper and deeper inside of me. But I did see Christ, and it's something I can't change. I tried to make it go away, and then I realized that I would rather live knowing that knowledge than anything else I had, because that knowledge rested me. But I saw him, and I continue to see him. It's not like an everyday event, but there are times where he's just there, and it's like I'm seeing you. And it's hard for me to believe that someone else can't. It's not so magical as people think. It's actually much simpler, much easier to absorb. I think we created Christ and God into this far place that's going to tell us if we're good or bad, or we're going to go to hell or not. And then I find out there's no hell. And then I try to tell people there's no hell, and they get mad at me because they want there to be a hell. And I say, but why? I never saw anything negative. I never saw anything bad that we think is bad or negative or what we're scared of since I've seen him. But instead of worrying about what isn't there, let me tell you what I've learned and what he's taught me, even about myself, and what he's brought out in me. And he never tells me the future or tells me answers to things I want answers to, like, why is this happening and why again, and what am I supposed to learn, or when I'm really upset or feeling like I'm stuck, you know. And what happens is he waits till it's like all over and then explains it to me. But then you never do it again. Because you say, wow, that's why I did that. I felt like something was missing in me. So I started looking for this. That's how I drew that to me. And then you start seeing your role in it and how you actually brought that to yourself. And he had to point it out in the beginning many times before I got the message, because I was in a pattern of repeating myself, and even pointed out to me that I had an inferiority complex, that I thought everybody was better than me. I didn't think so. I thought at least, you know, I was keeping up with the Jones, if that's the term to use. And then I realized, you know what, I do. I always assumed that everyone knew more than me, but me seeing him taught me that I am everybody else. That's something he said, that we're all an example of a million. If I'm feeling something, 1,000,000 people feel it. If you're feeling something, another 1,000,000.
Yeah.
Because we're all of each other. It's not like anyone's that far ahead or behind. We really are all in this together. And he made a really good point. And he said, what's the one thing you have in common with everybody on earth? And I thought, well, we're one. All the penned answers I gave. And he said, no. You've all made a decision to be on earth at the same time. And that's what we all have in common. And I haven't been able to look at it different. Every time I see or meet somebody, even if I'm just passing by someone and I think, why are they going through this or doing that? And I say, well, we're here at the same time, so there's a reason why they're doing that. And it's pushing us to push ourselves now. I think in the past we let the systems push us, and goals push us, and other things that we thought we wanted push us. But now we're going back and saying, wait a minute, we don't feel anything there. Once we get there, there's nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
So then we start thinking, well, but what's missing? Where's that missing ingredient? And we realize we're missing in our own lives. We did everything expected, and that's exactly what we got, what everyone expected. But we got lost. So going back to seeing Christ that first night, what did he say to me 10 years ago was, your job is to bridge people's souls back to them. And I had no idea how. No idea. And the minute I saw him, I went around trying to find someone who saw him. I thought maybe Christian people saw him, and that's how they were Christian, or that, you know, when you hear someone was saved, that, you know, they bring Christ into their heart and then they're saved. So I thought that's how they knew.
Because you were Muslim.
Because I was Muslim, and it didn't occur to me.
Yeah.
But what I did realize was that there is no religion. There's God in us. And religion is a tool to take us to God if we can't get there ourselves. There isn't a right or wrong. There isn't a good or bad. If that's what takes you to God, then it's right for you, period. Because our whole job is that when we get to God, it takes a lot of self-love to be able to love God. Because if you can't love yourself, you will not have the capacity to love anyone else more than you love yourself. So if you're only up to here, everyone else is up to here. And that's just the way it is. And you also won't allow someone else to love you more than you love yourself. It's impossible. The minute they hit that spot where they're loving you more, conflict will come to it because you're going to fight them. Because how dare anyone love you more than you love you? That's your job. And deep inside, you know that. So the quest for self-love goes on. And we start, you know, chiseling our lives to figure out, you know, what does that even mean? And I never could understand, how do you love yourself? Yeah, there's a dog. He's excited we're here. He's learning. He's like, whoo, the dog next door, I'm coming. Okay. But there's something really interesting, because I said, well, how do you teach self-love? How do we get to the point where we understand what that means? Because at first we thought, do something for yourself. So we started doing something for ourselves, whatever that was. Go for a walk, and all of that is important. But there's a foundational piece that's so important that I would say it's the beginning of understanding self-love. And that is compassion for yourself. That's so critical. And how was I taught that? I was on my way to a really tough situation that day, going to court to face someone who was lying and made it look like I was lying. And because I was telling the truth, I looked weaker than the person who was lying. And I was getting ready to go, and I sat on the floor to tie my shoes, and I had one of those wardrobe mirrors. So across the room, I saw myself in there. And when I looked up and I saw myself in the mirror, I go, oh my God, I'm a person. And it never occurred to me that I was a person, like I looked like a woman in that mirror. And then I thought, if I saw that person on the street, I would say she had everything together and this and this and this, and I'm so sad right now. And I started to cry because I was scared to go. That was the first thing. And I realized this part of myself that I'd never seen myself like that before. And I realized we think of everyone else as people, but we exempt ourselves from that, and that's why we're so hard on ourselves. So then when I started to cry and I looked at myself and I said, I am going to take care of you. I'm going to do my best to take care of you. The way if someone were to say that to me, and it made me feel love for myself. The way I probably would have felt it if someone did it to me or said that to me. And I think that was the very beginning of me understanding the value of caring for my own soul. Not for myself out here, but for my soul. And to see me as a soul, that I'm not exempt, that I can take this and take that and spare everyone else of it and work tirelessly for that and leave myself drained, because really what I'm sharing with everyone is a drained person. And that's not any fun for anybody. And then you do everything and then you say, but I did this and that for you and whatever. Those words have never come out of my mouth since. I never expected anything back from anybody.
So tell us about our soul. Tell us about what is the role of the soul?
Our souls are made up of three things: truth, love, and purity. If I wrote about anything, I wrote thousands and thousands of pages about truth, love, and purity. When we pierce one of them, we spend our entire lives trying to fill that hole. If it's love that's been pierced, we're looking for that. If it's truth, we're always trying to tell the truth, to be the truth, to say the truth. And if it's our purity, our innocence, we try to get it back. That's why we're so attracted to innocence, because that's one of the earliest things that we're almost pushed to lose. Like, oh, grow up. Oh, do you really have to?
A lot of people try to gain it back then later.
Yes. There was a child prodigy I had seen speak, and he was on a talk show. And they asked him, well, how do you think you're different from other people? Because you're so young and you know how to do this. And I really can't remember what it was he did. And when he answered, he said, the only difference between me and a grown-up is that they've just had more experience than I've had. Otherwise, there's no difference. And then later on, I remembered that because Christ had said to me, the soul is not the body. The soul doesn't have an age, but the body does for the purpose that we're here. Because every age brings about its own challenge. You're each age for 1 year, and you grow, and you don't get to stay the same. Even if you say you're staying the same, your body will grow. You will age. And that's part of being here. Nobody's 500 years old. We come here for this time to do what we need to do. And our soul made that decision to come here and to challenge itself and to go back. And that's all we're doing. And we're veiled. So our whole job is to refine love, find the paths of love. Because love will always be the strongest energy, the only energy that carries us from place to place. And we think of love as a bikini, and we think of love as a boyfriend, but love is love is love. It's actually the energy. And it's the only energy that lives between us, spoken or not. Somebody can say to you all day, I love you. But if they didn't mean it, you wouldn't feel it. and then you would depend on the words for it to be real. But a lot of times when love goes very, very deep, it's not spoken as much. It's felt. And you know, we all know.
So I really love what you said about being authentic, because that really opens up a lot for others and ourselves once we start opening to our own truth and seeing what's really going on. Isn't that a big, huge key that you were given from Christ also? Or?
Yes. The biggest thing I think I learned is always, always tell yourself the truth. Just tell yourself the truth. Give yourself the break in life to tell yourself the truth. I'm really doing this because I'm upset about whatever. I'm reacting, or I want this, or I want, just say it. Because once you say something, you can see it. And once you see it, you can actually make a decision on it. Otherwise, you're just reacting to old habits, old thoughts, old feelings. And once you know better, and they've been saying this now for a long time in different places, you can do better. Not you will do better, because that's a choice, but you can do better. And so why not just in that moment when you're going to default to your old habits, say, wait a minute, do I really want to do this again? And ask yourself, call yourself out on your habits. Because we say we don't like the habits and we wait for a great moment to break the habit when we're happy. But when we're happy, we all know what to do. It's when we're not that we sit there, you know, looking for resources. Like, well, what do I know? How do I get myself out of this? But yet we go back to the old tape and we don't really pull ourselves out of it. But if I will guarantee, once you're in that moment and you do something different, that first seed was planted to break that habit. Most of the time, you won't even go back. You just have to almost create a new template or upgrade your program or whatever it is you need to do to just pull yourself out of that. And if you are going to stay in the places you're at that you complain about, just accept that that's where you want to be. Because it's all about acceptance. It's not like you have to be super grow and, you know, feed the weeds or something.
The more we resist, the more it takes a grip.
But the acceptance, the self-acceptance, allows you to pull yourself back and live in that moment. And that's also another thing we say a lot, but we don't really do. Yes, I'm living in the moment for like 2 minutes, and then you're back to, but I'm really upset about this, or I really want to do that, or I don't have this yet, or whatever. And none of that defines you. There'll be times in your life where you have a lot of money, and there'll be times in your life where you don't. But who are you in both places? That's a big question to answer. Because what defines you? Are you defining yourself, or is something outside of you defining you? Whatever it is. There's a lot of times I meet people, 90% of the time I'm in my sweats, just because I'm comfortable, and when it's cold I never want to get out of them. But nobody ever remembered what I wore, but they remembered how we felt. I remembered how we felt, and I don't remember what they wore or what they, and then I realized over time how little that matters. But when someone smiles at me, that's the first invitation of love between us. That's what that is. It's saying, hey, I feel happy enough to be happy with you today. And it's even in the slightest of moments. I go to this gym, and it's when most of the older people go. And when I first went, nobody talked to each other, but everybody looks at each other, but not when everyone else is looking. It's like, was the weirdest dynamic to see people walk by each other, know everything about you and your movements and that, and you see them week after week and no one says anything. And I would walk around, and I didn't realize I'm smiling all the time, but I was walking around smiling, and over time people start talking to you and approaching you. And now 5 years later, someone's missing, and they're like, where were you? What have you been doing? I bake cookies and I take them to the old people, and everyone talks and everyone's acknowledged. And it just brought life to that time period. If I don't go in that time period, I don't even like going anymore, because now it's become home. And anywhere there's love, there's home. And that could be anywhere. It could be in this yard, it could be when you're by yourself, it could be when you're in a room full of people. Love never goes away, but when we ignite it, it propels all of us. It propels all of us. We just have to believe it exists for us too. For me too, and for you. Because that's what we're made of. We're made of just love, truth, and purity. That's our soul. That's who every one of us is. And whatever's been injured, we can take off on it to lacks of love, but it's still love. That's why when people are hurt or they've done something that maybe they're not proud of, and I say, but you did it for a reason. There must have been a lack of love somewhere that you're responding to. And if you can identify it, just like they can identify a gene medically, then you can look at it and say, what do I want to do about this? Because the only things that we ever remember in life, throughout our lives, is love when it was, when it was given to us purely, or when it was injured. Everything else, we're like, yeah, where was that again? Oh, what did we do? Yeah, where were we that day? But we remember exactly how we felt. Again, same thing. Love is the only reality. Over and over again, it's the only reality. It's the only truth. And everything that you've made a final decision on, like your free will made a final decision on, are the only things that really grew your life as you go through life. If somebody else made the decision for you, you don't get the experience fully because you're too busy blaming them. Instead of looking at yourself and saying, why would I need to spend my life blaming anybody for anything? When I could really just let myself make decisions and share that. Or acknowledge that, hey, I want you to do this for me. Or you want me to do that. But always to agree with yourself on what you're doing so that you can live with yourself later on, which is really more important.
So how are you in relationship to those teachings that you received 10 years ago? Where are you at now in relationship to them? How are you living your life? How is it different from 10 years ago?
It's so embedded in my life that I almost feel like I'm not here sometimes. I feel like when I see people doing things that I know aren't okay, it feels dated to me, like it's old history. And that's a good thing because I know that if something happens to one person, it's available to everybody. So the energy's here to grow us. The fact that we recognize these things in each other, the one thing that changed in me and that stays in me forever is if one of us falls, there's millions of us to pull you along. That nobody is left behind. There is no soul more important than another, ever. I don't care who it is, all the way up here, all the way down here, whatever criteria we have for people. They are a soul. And there is no soul more important than another. And I feel like I'm one of everybody. And everybody is also me. And I don't have to convince them of that. But I know that if my love is pure, it will carry. It will carry me, which means it carries others. And people learn by what you do, not by what you say. Because we can all say a lot. But your behavior, and not even behavior, because that's even sounds like an old term. But the way you live with love is just an example of it, so other people have that path. But when you're at that fork in the road and you can go this way or that way, when you choose the path of love, you never have to go back and fix it. You can accept it. Even if you don't get the answer you want, whatever that answer was, there is no answer really. If you came out with love, then you've learned it. You've done it. And without it, you will keep trying over and over again for whatever it is you want until you find the love in it. So if you decide you're going to go this way to make money on this and you really don't want to do it, but you'll do it so that you can do this, choose the love, because you will make money on what you love too. But we're so scared to add our emotion into it. Even me with the books and with seeing Christ and all of that, people are like, my family, you know. There's so much emotion involved in this and that. Do something stable. And I'm like, I've never been so stable in my life. I've never been so happy in my life. And I'm not ecstatic running around telling people, hey, I'm happy, here I am. But I am loving them and loving myself enough to understand that. And everything else works out. I just think for a minute, why wouldn't it work out? Instead of why would it? If somebody does something and I'm not really happy about it, like one of my kids, instead of saying, what were you thinking? What was your intention? They can answer that. What were you thinking is a judgment. So then they're going to get defensive, and then I'm going to try to prove I'm right, and so are they, and that's going to go back and forth. But what was your intention? You say, well, I was thinking this, and then that, and then that, and then that happened. And I'm like, okay, that I can live with. The worst truth will always be better than the best lie. Always, because the truth rests us. The truth heals us. Doesn't matter what the answer is. It could be the last thing you wanted to happen, but if it's true, then you can say, I know everything I need to know, I can do this with it. And if it's not, you're still trying to figure out what the truth is, and then you're doing this until you do. But if we clean up along the way by just telling ourselves the truth, there's an inner peace that you can't get anywhere without it. You just can't. And you'll keep trying until you just tell yourself the truth. It really isn't a big secret, but it's a hard thing to do. It really is. It does. It takes courage, and it takes you in the moment to recognize that.
In the moment, right?
In the moment.
It's seconds. And it goes.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you're in the situation where you have to face somebody and say something that's really hard to say, once you say it, you realize how it wasn't so hard to say. It was more work to think of how to say it and whatever, and all the dynamics. There isn't a how to say it. Just say it. And the truth is sometimes a good thing that people can't accept. I saw Christ, and he tells me, there's no hell. Why would God judge you? And because I was never schooled really in any religion, I was born Muslim, but I was never schooled, which is probably why I was able to see him. I don't know. But I do know that when I told people there's no hell, it really did make them upset. And I thought, we're so programmed to be punished that we want to feel like we're better, or a little bit better than being punished. But then we're living by this small box of criteria of being good or bad, and now we're judging ourselves, expecting God to judge us, and God only loves us. God really is just love. That's it. We can say whatever we want, we can quote things, we can talk about long stories, and they're all great stories, and they all teach us, and they keep us thriving to grow, whatever it does, however we need to do that. But bottom line is, God is love, and God is for everyone. And I think one of the biggest things that surprised me seeing Christ was that it doesn't make me feel religious. It made me feel loved. And there's a big difference. It was like the wick went from here to here. You light it and it's there. It's that easy. Maybe it's too easy for people to comprehend. I don't know.
No, you share it in a way that really it helps us to get in this world and to see something much bigger. It's really Christ consciousness, isn't it? It's not the person in itself.
That's true. I had somebody say to me not too long ago, "Oh, you're brilliant," and I go, "How did you think that's Christ you're talking to, but really it's you talking to your higher self?" And I go, maybe then I am brilliant. Maybe that's how I wrote the book. I thought, wow, that's really cool. I would love to be brilliant. But my grades, I was normal. I don't know about what brilliant means. But then I thought to myself after I left that person, I thought, but I saw him too. Oh, maybe that's something. And then he said, that was your protection. And your protection was everything was written. You're actually irrelevant to it. You're here and you could be gone, but what's written is forever. Basically, you're off the hook. And I really, I'm glad when people say those things to me, because I would say those things to other people, but it solidifies me to know the truth. And not to feel like there's a proving that's going on, because then I'm back in that game.
Yeah.
And that's the game I left. And
you sure didn't choose an easy path.
No, it's
quite impressive, your path and your journey and it's very impressive, because there's a lot of confrontations and a lot of strong topics that you're bringing up, and a lot of strong words, and you want to bring the truth, and that's huge, you know, to have such a sole purpose.
It's a big deal when I talk to people who confront me with literature and, you know, want to fight me because of what I know or what I've come to know. But I can't change what I know. I can't change the simplicity of it, and I can't not talk about it. I tried not to. I mean, it's been 10 years, and really even for 2 years prior to last year, I didn't even do interviews or anything. Not for any other reason, is that I had to come to terms with, how do you talk about this to people when they can't accept this kind of love yet? But now, even 2 years later, we're getting there. I was told that by the time I would be doing this, by the time the books came out, people would be ready for it. Initially, I thought, who the heck is going to read all this writing? And I would put it in a drawer. I couldn't even go back and read it because I kept writing. It was just too much. But yet, I was told people would be starving for it, irrelevant of me. We're just starving for truth, and for love, and for purity. We all are. And once we fill that, and we get past this, once we learn this, there's still more. And somebody else will come with that gift or those gifts, and there's a lot of us now who are waking up, and it's like every day someone gets touched like this, and they start thinking a little differently, like, really? Is that really what we thought? But the way I see it is, I look at this time, like let's say 100 years from now, they'd say, wow, people separated themselves by this one saying they're going to go to heaven, and this one saying that because they're this color or this background or whatever, and that's old news, that we used all of that to make one person more important than another, or more, I want to say popular or whatever. But there's a reason why I was born Palestinian, Muslim, Arabic, and a woman. It's like the worst rap sheet you could have, politically or maybe even on the world social stage, I don't know. And then this happens to me, and I'm out here speaking about it. And at the same time, it happens to all of us. It didn't happen to me. It happened for us. And like he said, basically, I'm irrelevant. I was really never so happy to hear that in my life as I was that night. Because the truth speaks for itself, and like we said in the beginning, the truth does the work, the love does the work. That's when you know you've trusted it enough to let it do the work. Because we're so busy trying to tell life what to do. And life has a lot to tell us. Life has a lot to show us. And it really does come through if we just let it. But we get mad in the middle saying, but I want this, and if I don't get this, I want nothing to do with this. And we miss so much.
But intentions yet are important, right?
Your intentions are always important. When I go to bed at night, what I say to myself is, I want to do right by myself. Because I know if I do right by myself, I can accept everyone else's.
I didn't get that.
Like when you do right by you, you know that
what do you mean by
you're
right
true
by
to yourself.
Right
you
by
accept,
you by yourself?
Yes. You can accept other people's truths as well. Doesn't have to be yours. I have 2 kids who are completely different from each other and also different from me. Do they have to be me, really?
No.
No. And I tell them, there's some things you may not ever want to tell me in life. That's okay with me. Don't feel like you're holding anything back. It's your life. I came here to be your mother, and I teach you this, and I love you, no matter what. The love is already there. And whenever you need me, I'm here. And it took a lot for me to say that, especially the teenage years. I mean, you know, I would sleep with both phones in my bed, just in case someone needed me at some point. But when you're able to accept that people's lives are theirs, when you die alone. When you stand in front of God, He doesn't say, did you do this because of so-and-so? Oh, that's okay. Or that's not. He doesn't judge you at all. But you get to say, I did this from my heart. I learned this way. You can't blame anybody. And it's freeing.
And this conversation is freeing, Nadia.
It's just, there's so much I don't have to worry about now. And I get to enjoy. I get to enjoy my kids, and they can tell me stuff, and I can say, that's so cool. May not be right for me, but cool, because it makes them happy. And that's the whole point of life, is if you're here and you're postponing happiness becomes the way of life.
Yeah.
We actually start thinking, okay, when this, and then that when comes to, and then we replace it, and we keep replacing it, and that just becomes a state of mind.
Beautiful.
We're changing, Lilu. We're all changing.
This is happening right now.
Yeah.
These juicy conversations are needed.
The simple conversations. Life is just simple. The minute we complicate it, that's why. I mean, we complicate it and we say, hey, why did I need to do this? Maybe I like it. Some people are driven by that. And if that's what drives you and takes you to yourself, it's okay. It's okay. There was something I learned in early childhood development. And they had 3 rules of discipline for little kids. And I thought, we need to extend that to the adults. But it's just, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt others, and don't damage or destroy property. And those, if a kid did one of those, that's when you interfere and say, whatever. But from the beginning, if we say, oh, you made a choice to do that, they learn from the beginning that they're making choices. Instead of, why did you do that? And then don't do that because it doesn't look good for us. They don't know why they didn't do it. But if you let them know that there's choices from the beginning, because we have to start with the young, then we all get to grow. Then as our kids grow, the conflicts are different, or the challenges are different, or whatever it is we're doing, we at least can have a conversation about it. Instead of a slamming door and I'm not talking to you anymore, I'm leaving, or when I'm 18, or whatever you hear. You know, you give them a stronger foundation to face the world, and I think sometimes that's missing. Because they get the long laundry list of what not to do, and then nothing on what's okay. So then they're on their own.
I love what you say about your kids, that you've educated them through love and not discipline. Or you've, that's a big one.
It's hard sometimes, not because love is hard, but for me to swallow my own ego or my own thoughts of what I thought I needed, or what it was going to do to my day or whatever, and understand that this is really a big deal for them. And that how I react to this is how I'm teaching them to react for the rest of their lives. And if I don't like that about myself, why would I give that to them? So I really had to get out of my own way, which was hard in the beginning. But once you do it, not only does it take pressure off of them, but that gift is extended to you too. You get to not have that pressure, and you get to have a house that's calm, and kids that are happy to see you.
And authentic. They're definitely real.
Yeah. Very real. Almost to the point where, like, I'm okay, enough. But it does. It gave me a different life. It really did. And it's possible. It's not like, what is that bolt of lightning that people expect and they're waiting for, that's going to change everything in one moment. It doesn't work like that. It really works with you. If you can start saying, hey, you know what? I never liked thinking like this, and today I'm actually not gonna do it, and you really don't do it.
That's a huge step.
It's huge in another way, and the way that it's even more huge is that you start believing in yourself that you can change. Because that's the thing that we think we can't do anymore. We start forgetting that, once we hit a certain point and we're not challenged with school or new jobs or new anything, we're like in that coasting place. We don't think, oh, that's just the way things are. Oh, I've been that way for 15 years. Oh, well, all the reasons why not. Because it gives us comfort to have not changed. Yet we're changing. We're changing enough to say, we don't really want that anymore. But we're not taking it the step to do anything about it, because it would require sometimes just thinking. And we're under too much pressure. It's not like we're good or bad. We're rushing from here to there, and when is when? And when is right now.
So your next book is going to come out this year?
Yes.
The Origin of Love?
Yeah, now I have a name.
How exciting.
Yeah, it's Original Love, and it's a book I send out. I write these things in the moments when I'm stuck somewhere and I start asking a question, and I get these little, I call them burps. They're just little, they're like a poem looking, but really they're a short story of that moment. And most of those had to do with uncovering another layer of self-love, which is really hard to do because we're so intricate. But one step at a time, between compassion or when love is pierced, how do you react? And it's just in there in a short way where you can absorb it. And there's one good thing I do know for all of us. And that is, once you know the truth, it tugs at you until you live up to it. It really doesn't let you bring it down. Because it can't change, so someone has to change. And truth can't change. It's truth is truth is truth.
Beautiful. Nadia, isn't she amazing? Isn't this fun and juicy? This is what Juicy Tour is about. I love it. I love you. You're
making
awesome.
me shy. I love you.
Thank you, Nadia. Beautiful.
I'm so glad you're here. Over and above everything.
And thank you for welcoming
me. We got to have dinner.
Home.
Yes, we got
to having this beautiful dinner. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really enjoying my journeys with you. Until we meet again, right?
Yes, yes. This is a very special moment. Yeah. Much love, my beautiful co-creators.
Bye-bye.
See you soon in California or in Vegas. Actually, Vegas next time.
Vegas is next.
Bye.
It happened actually 10 years ago, and it still happens.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing.
Tell us about that cool thing.
It's just morphed into different ways. You know, once you know one thing, we're all here to be challenged, so you keep getting challenged, and you keep learning new ways of loving and new ways of being truthful to yourself, and less ways of trying to prove that to anybody. Because once you know something, you know it, you can't change the truth, and it rests you. So what it means outside of you isn't as important because you know the truth will do the work. You no longer are doing the work. The love does the work. It's not like you have to prove to love. When you feel it that deeply and understand what it means to you to have it, it does the work. It propels. It's nothing you have to say. You talk less about it and more about what you're doing, because you're not stuck in it anymore. It's not something that stops you and you try to figure out, why did this happen? Why did that happen? None of that matters, because you realize that it happened for a reason. And instead of saying why, say, what should I have learned here? And if you get what you learned, then you just go on. And if you didn't, there'll be another way that it comes to you so that you will learn it, because part of why you were here was to learn that. And that's why it came to you and not to your neighbor. And that's why their experiences are different. And that self-accountability, just saying, you know, what role do I have in my own life? Like, how did I affect this situation? How did I bring this to me? Then you don't look at, should I blame somebody else for it or whatever happened. You realize it's just a set of circumstances that came to you to teach you. And if it wasn't that, it would be something else, because we're here to learn. And we forget that sometimes.
But tell us about that story, because 10 years ago, this is amazing. Because you didn't always have this understanding, this very deep knowledge and information, as you call it, the origin of truth, as your the title of your book. So how did this all started? And what happened then? Christ appeared.
Christ appeared.
We're on the Juicy Tour. Guess where we're at now? Still in California. Amazing, beautiful California with Nadia.
Here we are in San Gabriel.
This is beautiful. This is like we're in Nadia's paradise garden.
Yes.
This is amazing. And the birds are singing, and this is so special. And we had some homemade cooking last night that was absolutely delicious. And this banana bread is the best banana bread ever. This is so juicy. This is actually the secret ingredient. I'm going to have another piece because this is so good. You really want to come all the way here to
butter and bananas. I mean, no, I'm kidding. Can you go wrong?
This is awesome.
A little bit of sugar, a little bit of flour, butter and bananas. You like it?
Yes.
Because I'm so glad.
This is juicy, you know. The food is also very important.
I figured you needed to fuel the rest of your tour, so I figured I'd fill you up here and you're on your way to Vegas.
We're on our way to Vegas to see Michael Lozier. But today I really want to go back to your story because you have this amazing thing that happened to you. Didn't you? 10 years ago, or was it?
People, there's no hell, and they get mad at me because they want there to be a hell. And I say, but why? I never saw anything negative. I never saw anything bad that we think is bad or negative or what we're scared of since I've seen him. But instead of worrying about what isn't there, let me tell you what I've learned and what he's taught me, even about myself and what he's brought out in me. And he never tells me the future or tells me answers to things I want answers to, like why is this happening and why again and what am I supposed to learn, or when I'm really upset or feeling like I'm stuck, you know. And what happens is he waits till it's like all over and then explains it to me. But then you never do it again. Because you say, wow, that's why I did that. I felt like something was missing in me. So I started looking for this. That's how I drew that to me. And then you start seeing your role in it and how you actually brought that to yourself. And he had to point it out in the beginning many times before I got them. Appeared to me in a restaurant with a client of mine who took me out for dinner. And I know we did other videos about that, but really the story gets bigger and bigger in my mind as time goes on because the value of it gets deeper and deeper inside of me. But I did see Christ, and it's something I can't change. I tried to make it go away, and then I realized that I would rather live knowing that knowledge than anything else I had, because that knowledge rested me. But I saw him, and I continue to see him. It's not like an everyday event, but there are times where he's just there, and it's like I'm seeing you. And it's hard for me to believe that someone else can't. It's not so magical as people think. It's actually much simpler, much easier to absorb. I think we created Christ and God into this far place that's going to tell us if we're good or bad, or we're going to go to hell or not. And then I find out there's no hell. And then I try to tell